Good evening, America. Episode 15, Contra-Dictions. Fred coming to you live. I got my boys with me tonight, and they're ready to go. Man, I'm telling you what, I got number 4-5 in the house. How you doing, Kenny?
Welcome, everybody.
There he is, 4-5. All right, and we also got my boy Glenn. Where you at, Glenn?
What's going on? Making that Redskins look good, brother.
Right. So we're gonna talk about all things that nobody wants to talk about right now. All right, racism in America. Oh man, let's get it on. All right, let's start with Bubba Wallace. Let's go there. Who wants to start?
Well, I'll go ahead, Glenn.
I mean, hey, it doesn't matter in either one, but yeah. So we've got Bubba Wallace. Everybody knows Bubba Wallace, African American NASCAR driver, finds a noose hanging in his garage. They're saying that it was used as a pulley for his garage door. So there have been several other pictures that have come out of. I don't know if it's the same specific garage, but there are garages where apparently there are something that looks similar to nooses. I don't believe they're all nooses. A noose is a very specific thing. Of course, Bubba Wallace's garage had a noose. These other ones just have sort of like a pulley thing. I've never in my life seen a noose used for the objective of pulling a garage door, but that's what we have happen. So over the weekend, we have President Trump, Donald J. Trump. We've got Trump that came out and said that, but he believes Bubba Wallace should apologize. I'm like, what? Apologize? Apologize for what? I mean, Bubba Wallace wasn't the one that called the FBI. NASCAR was the one that called the FBI. He didn't initiate the investigation. Furthermore, with all the racial tension that's going on in the backdrop of this country right now and all of the quote unquote revolting, if you will, going into your I want to keep wanting to say gym room or locker room, but garage rather, going into your garage and finding a noose hanging as a black man would be alarming. I mean, he would arguably have a reason to be alarmed, but again, he didn't even know that the noose was hanging there. NASCAR actually was the one that put this whole thing out on blast, that contacted the FBI as well, that initiated the investigation. But Wallace is just merely saying, hey, yeah, this happened. It shouldn't have happened. Somebody should have been a little bit more sensitive. Or maybe if somebody was, maybe it could have been two people in there previously learning how to, it could have been a person showing somebody else how to tie a noose or something like that. Who knows? Why you would want to know? Who knows? They should have untied it, shouldn't have left it there. And Bubba Wallace, by no means necessary, has any reason to apologize. Kenny?
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take the non-affirmative on this one. So I think he should apologize, and here's why I think he should apologize. He did not initiate the situation. One of his crew members did, but this is the problem. This is one of our problems in America. When we want to have real, honest discussion about racism, then we have to be honest about it. In his quote was, "Today's despicable act of racism and hatred leaves me incredibly sad and served as a painful reminder how much further we have to go as a society. This, and that we must be, and how persistent we must be when we fight against racism." Now, here's the thing. For people like myself and many others who believe that racism exists but are not racists, get tired of feeling like everything is racist. We have seen time and time again, whether it was the LeBron story about somebody spraying something on his fence. I've actually seen it at South River High School, where they went across and it was a fake situation. The Jussie Smollett stuff.
Wait, when you say it was a fake situation, what do you mean? What was a fake situation?
Which one?
You said you made that statement right after you said something about South River High School.
Yeah, so South River High School, they said that these racist kids had spray painted, and I think it was an anti-Semitic message, but it was not. They were people that were anti-Trump doing it to try to get other people in trouble. Gotcha. So what I'm saying is that type of thing.
There's definitely been a lot of racial things that have gone down at South River High School. I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page.
That was the thing that I'm talking about.
And all sorts of stuff at South River as well, too.
So the noose hanging, that as well. That was not somebody that again, based on, now this is kids that I've talked to that have talked to other kids, and we can have that South River discussion another day, but all these types of fake, which is these things that came out nationally, that not the South River things, the other things that we're talking about,
Right,
where these situations where it's not real, and there are situations where they are real. So for people that see something and go, hey, if your first inclination is to believe that it's real, to me, that shows that maybe that person doesn't have a real good view, because I know this, like I hear this stuff and my first inclination is like, really? And then
let me ask you something really quick. Do you know how to tie a noose?
I do not.
You do not, exactly.
I
It's
do
something
not.
that most people don't know how to do.
Can I chime in too? I don't know how either.
Yeah, you don't know how either. That's good to know. Keep my eye on you too.
Now I have tied a noose before, because when I was at a scout camp, you did a whole bunch of different knots, and that one is a distinctly, and people might not like that I say this, but it looked cool from the idea that it's a unique knot.
And you were a kid, man. You weren't trying to hang anybody.
Yeah,
I didn't want to hang anybody, just to see how the noose was made. So I did make one before, and this kid was showing how to tie it. And I've always been fascinated by knots.
Do you think somebody was just having a Boy Scout session in Bubba Wallace's garage?
Well, first of all, it wasn't in Bubba Wallace's garage. So let's go ahead, and this is why it's a hoax. Because when you look at, and again, I have, I can actually pull them up if we want. We can go through some of the other pull downs, okay? But this was in, sorry, crap, I moved mine.
So while Kenny's looking, did anybody see Bubba Wallace's response?
Paul Maynard. So it was in Paul Maynard's garage. So if people want to hold Paul Maynard accountable, I mean, it was in his garage when he was in there.
I was going to say from the previous year.
Yeah.
From the previous race.
Correct.
And so Paul Maynard's a white guy, so I don't think anyone did it to purposely upset him. I do think that people do, again, there's multiple different ones. Now, the one that they're showing that is closed up and looks brand new, like somebody had just done it, right? If somebody brings that up, I don't have a problem with the person bringing it up. I actually don't. I do have a problem with them initially assuming that it had to be racist and that they had to walk him around the track to show their solidity and support for this racist incident that they kept talking about before they took about 10 minutes and the FBI was like, no, this wasn't a racist incident. So what I'm saying is that gaslighting these incidents do not help a cause. They help no cause.
And so you think a noose hanging in a coincidentally black race driver's garage car is a gaslighting event? You don't think that at all has any sort of validity to it? And again, NASCAR. No,
I don't. Here's what I think. I don't have a problem.
His garage associate reported it to NASCAR. NASCAR was the one that initiated.
No, he went and reported it.
He didn't report it to the FBI directly.
No. He reported it to the driver, Bubba Wallace.
Right.
Bubba Wallace then reported it, and then it got reported. So yes, he was not the originator of the report. Right. And again,
and there were more than one person.
I have no problem with what Bubba Wallace's guy did. He saw it. He saw it in a black thing. To me, now again, I don't equate everything to racism. So I don't see a noose and immediately think hanging black people.
So let me ask you something.
Thing and go, okay, cool.
Let's say you were Bubba Wallace's friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to paint a scenario. Let's say you were Bubba Wallace's friend. You were the guy that discovered the noose.
Yep.
Nobody knows about it except you, right?
Yep.
So what does Kenny then do at that point? Do you maybe just take the noose down and don't even say anything to anybody?
No. First of all, if I thought that it was something racist, right? So maybe I don't see the noose at all. Maybe I think it's a grab.
You would just say, "Oh, a noose."
No, the environment.
No, I mean I would just step back and look. What is this thing?
All white NASCAR that just talked about removing Confederate flags and
I don't look for racism and everything.
Hold on,
so
don't we have to assume the garage was closed, so the noose was up higher than what it was when the garage was open, right?
Hold on, I want to answer this question because I think this is important. Okay. If I was to see a noose and thought, wow, this is a noose, Glenn's my driver, somebody must have put this here. This thing looks brand new, crisp. I would go and bring it to NASCAR. I have no problem with that. My problem is if you get in front of a mic and start speaking about how it's racist and we don't know yet. We don't know.
What more investigation do? So what would be
They
the
obviously
logical
did
assumption?
investigation, and it wasn't racist. So
what would you, but again, and I don't think we're arguing at that point, but in the beginning, to find a noose, it would be like walking into a garage and finding
with the way the emotions and tensions are right now. Of course.
You know how many words are
finding a swastika, or it'd be like finding a well, I mean,
but
it's not like finding a swastika. There are no accidental big swastikas written on a wall.
Listen, at the end of the day, no one knows.
Noose is made. Come
yes,
on,
this isn't a noose. So first of all, just so everybody knows, a noose, when you pull the noose, a noose would constrict onto your hand.
Yep,
this was not a noose, yet they use that term because it looked like a noose. So this was not a noose. This was a door pull. That is what the FBI said. You can, again, I can actually,
if you pull on the rope, it won't.
What they were doing was pulling up on, because I'm going to pull it up really fast because I got to see this to confirm.
Yeah, because I'm going to go ahead and share a screen right now. Okay, and we'll go ahead and show this one. So let's make sure everybody can see this. Okay, here you go. Can everybody see this?
Yeah.
You guys see how there's a rope right here, and there's also one right here.
Sure.
You guys see? Now this one, if you close in on it.
So that's different then. I thought he was the only one in that whole
garage.
You
see this? You see this garage? It's got one right here. Now, does this one look as clean as the other one? No, but it's also laying on a carpet. It does have a knot right here.
Now that makes it a different story. If I'm
then
the
you
friend
look here,
I find the one, the one, don't I look at the other garages and ask myself, is there more than just this one?
Right. And again, this one looks more, the one that they showed, okay, looked more like a noose. That's why I don't have a problem with the fact that somebody brought it up. My problem is not that somebody brought it up. I have no problem with anybody checking in on something that might be racist. My problem is that I think there's a responsibility that comes from the person who, if I'm the worker, so it depends if I'm the driver, I'm the worker. If I'm the worker, I have no problem with what the worker did. I still don't have a problem with what the worker did. I do have a problem with them jumping the gun and assuming that this thing was racist instead of letting it play out first and then seeing how it turns out because they wanted it to be true. That's the fact. They did want it to be true because these things, and they can put their flag in the dirt and say, see, I told you everybody here is racist. Now, out of the three of us,
I'm looking at the same picture right here. I ain't gonna lie. It looks Photoshopped to me. It does. It looks like they tried to Photoshop
I thought there was
one. I mean, I have more photos.
The picture that you literally just pulled up. The picture that you literally just pulled up. They tried to get a picture of two garages in the same clip, and then literally Photoshop that noose, but at a slightly different angle to make it look skinnier and a little bit different. I don't know. I don't think NASCAR is that dumb. That would have been the first thing. I mean, anybody would have done.
It wasn't though. It obviously wasn't because
the pictures that I saw initially showed other garage doors, and they did have pulleys and they did have loops, but nothing like a noose. Nothing like with the 3-4 rings at the top of the loop. It was nothing like that at all. It was like a simple little knot.
Right here is photoshopped.
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, it's funny.
You think right here is photoshopped?
Show it again.
This picture.
Yeah, put it up.
Yeah.
Show it again. Go ahead.
This picture right here is photoshopped.
Zoom in.
Yeah, I'll zoom in.
Yeah, look at the rope.
That one has a couple.
It's literally laying on the car, like, and this is. I mean,
I'm just saying. Did no one try it first? Did no one like pull on it to see what happens? Nobody.
The other one looks more like a noose than.
Yeah, I mean the other one definitely has a couple knots above it. That one looked like somebody threw some shit through a loop.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
I ain't buying.
And we can go through. I mean, there's more. Here is this is the one they're showing.
That nobody.
This is the one they're showing, except for I'm going to call, just as much bull crap on this one. We're assuming this now because NASCAR said, oh, here we go. My bad. I didn't share the screen.
And look, for all intents and purposes, I think NASCAR during this entire racial
epidemic,
I mean,
that looks
that's super.
Obviously, that looks like
right there. that's a hell of a picture. Compared to the other pictures. But again,
that's what I'm saying. Like that rope right there looks nothing like the picture you just showed.
No,
like
there was
at
only
all.
like
the other two pictures don't look
at all.
The other two don't look similar either. Those two pictures do not look the same.
That's what I'm saying. So this is what people do. This is what the media is paid to do. They get little side handoffs from other organizations to try and make things look like this, to try to create doubt in the citizens' minds.
No, I'm
like,
here,
bro.
I'm saying that I looked at about 30 pictures.
Is a smart person. He's a smart dude. I don't know. Like Bubba Wallace is sharp. He's certainly.
Well, he didn't even see it. He didn't even see it initially, which is all to my point. Because again, his initial response was that it had to be racism instead of letting it play out. And that is what people who are not racist.
I think you guys know, for me personally, I don't look for racism either, but I would have assumed that probably wasn't right. I don't think they were all based by
if you were Bubba, according to you and everybody else in the reports, he didn't see it. So what I'm saying is before you do this big theatrical performance, because you assume somebody did it because he's black, which that's a fact that they did not do it because he was black. That is a fact. That's unarguable. This thing was in there.
Why is that inarguable?
Because when you get stall selection, your stall selection is random, and it had already been in the stall in 2019 when other drivers had been there. So there was no way that somebody goes, I know.
Do you know what the actual process is of like they're picking the races for?
Yes,
like
I do. It
like
has
how
to do with your qualifying time, and that's how you get slotted, because then those stalls are where your car ends up coming out for pit row. So then you get lined up along pit row, and that all depends on your slot in pit row. Depends on how you qualified in the race the night before. So it was random. It was random that he was there.
It's random, but it's able to be figured out based on the times. Yeah, I just don't think
not from 2019.
There's not a lot of black.
Not from 2019.
Yeah, I would agree that if it was there,
it had just been done, somebody could have done it, but it wasn't. It was done in 2019, and there's video, picture evidence. This was done way before. So does that mean that it wasn't something that somebody did racist for some reason? No, but it doesn't seem likely based on the fact that nobody for a year said anything. And then I understand why Bubba Wallace's person may have thought that when he saw it. Again, my problem was not with him. My problem is with a system.
I mean, if he was going off,
I would rather them know for sure that this was a racist incident against him. That way, he can say exactly what he's saying now, which is, somebody should have been more sensitive and all that kind of stuff. Yes.
But if he was looking at the same pictures we were looking at, that was a noose.
And
the other ones were some shit that was just wrapped up real quick and said, you know what I mean?
That's why I'm just not even saying anything. I'm just like, anybody would.
I agree. It was there the year prior. I agree. It was there the year prior, but
for sure, absolutely. We know that.
But why was no other?
It was 100% not done for Bubba Wallace to be able to be in his stall. That was a complete.
You also got to imagine.
In the defense of his friend, the only thing I'm saying is that when he looked at that one, he didn't know 2019. He's seeing 2020. So with everything that's going on,
we can assume one way or the other. We don't know because we didn't walk the stalls to see all the stalls with all the pools. Obviously,
based on the pictures, right?
But my belief, and again, I could be wrong here, but what I'm saying is that to me, if I saw that, the first thing I'm gonna do is not going to run back if Glenn's my driver and say this is news. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go look at about 5 different stalls.
Right.
Once I look at these stalls, I go, man, dude, I think somebody put a noose in here.
Exactly.
And again, I want NASCAR to, I think NASCAR handled it the right way. I think they took it a little bit more to the next level going to the FBI. But okay, at this time, at this juncture, in where we're at in the world today, you want to go to the FBI? Okay. But
you got to protect your drivers, and I think it's great that NASCAR was actually willing to do that for Bubba Wallace. There had to be a thorough investigation done, somebody that doesn't have any conflicting interest in the matter, and I think going to the FBI was the right thing to do.
So let's get back to the original questions here. Did Trump call out Bubba Watson All right. Did he call him out? And did he say the reason why NASCAR's ratings are so low is because they got rid of the Confederate flag? Did he say those two things? Because that's what I saw in the
So
news
what
today.
he did in his tweet,
exactly what he said.
actually, I have a very important thing I want to bring up about this because this was a discussion that I'd had with somebody close to me. We had an argument this weekend, and I wanted to bring this up. So his quote said, has Bubba Wallace apologized all the NASCAR drivers? No, I don't think he should have to, but I do think he should apologize for how he handled it. And officials who came to his aid stood by his side, willing to sacrifice everything only to find out this is another hoax. I do believe that it was a hoax. I don't believe it's the same kind of hoax. I'm not even sure if I'm settled on the fact that it was a hoax per se. I think it was just handled in a way that I think it exacerbates issues before knowing that they're truthful. But I want to get to this part. So it says Trump tweeted, quote, that in flag decision has caused lowest ratings ever. Now, I'm assuming, so I don't know for sure, that NASCAR's ratings are the lowest ever because he put that. So I'm assuming that has some sort of basis. Okay. I think this is very interesting. I think a lot of people take what he says and does it, and people think that it's an endorsement where Trump likes to be right. When Trump thinks, hey, taking a knee is going to be bad for business, and he comes out and says, hey, this is going to be bad for business, and then it's bad for business, he is going to spike the football and see, I told you it was bad for business. I don't think that necessarily means that correlates with the belief that they shouldn't have done it as an individual moral matter. I think it as a business matter. And for instance, there was a tweet that he put that said 26,000 unreported sexual assaults in the military. What do these, and there's a couple more there, but basically, and it says, what did these geniuses expect when they put men and women together? And I believe, again, he's bringing up the fact in that one where having men and women in the military together, what do these people expect in terms of an increased sexual assault issues? It doesn't mean that he believes sexual assaults are okay. It's just he believes that wasn't going to be well. He believed when it was the Colin Kaepernick thing that taking a knee was going to be bad for business for the NFL. Those things are all three true, whether we like them or not. That and the flag decision, if they have the lowest ratings, that is likely a cause of it, because I think all three of us do agree that there's a lot of people that probably like the Confederate flag or have some sort of feeling about it one way or the other that are NASCAR drivers or their fan base. I'm not a NASCAR fan, so I'd be lying to you if I act like I gave a damn about NASCAR. I tried to start watching it this year. I go for Kyle Busch because my initials are KD and my son's name's Kyle, and I like Toyotas. Okay, but I don't have a vested interest in this sport. If it goes down, that may not have been the best business decision in terms of being successful within the business. If they don't want to sell that stuff, then so be it. Go ahead, Glenn.
Glenn. So Kenny's thinking that Trump only was making business decisions. He didn't mean it. He was only trying to say it was a business thing.
Not didn't mean it. Okay, I don't think that he didn't mean it. I think when he believes that something is not good for business, he's going to say it's not good for business.
How did you
moral judgment in there?
So a couple things there. So and just to answer your question really quick, Fred, if he's only thinking about business right now in a time like this, that's kind of pretty sad. Money isn't everything, and I'm gonna just leave that at that. Now, a couple things that you were talking about, Kenny. You were talking about Trump saying that. Just take the entire sentiment that it's bad for business. All right. So first off, NASCAR was on the downtrend since the end of 2018. Like NASCAR's ratings have been, that's nothing new. It's nothing new. NASCAR has kind of been on the downtrend. I actually think that them removing the Confederate flag could potentially broaden their fan base and give them more, more variety in terms of their customer base, because let's be honest, the Confederate flag, it alienates people. I don't understand why, like you said, Kenny, you were talking about how some people may feel, I guess, some sort of positive way about the Confederate flag. When again, this just kind of goes to my point that I was talking about last episode, how racism and white supremacy is so deep rooted that we're actually still having this conversation. There is nothing patriotic at all about the Confederate flag. All of these states wanted to secede from the Union in the name of slavery. It's blatant. Like, there's several sources. Google it, DuckDuckGo it. I mean, they are very clear as to why they wanted to secede from the Union, and it had to do with slaves. Now, you guys, a lot of people want to argue that, hey, slaves was the way of the time back then and this and that. Okay, sure. And I'll give you that. Maybe it was the way of the time. But you mean to tell me that slave owners didn't know that their slaves were being beaten? Slave owners didn't know that they were being raped? Slave owners didn't know that they were being murdered unjustly, framed, so on and so forth? If they didn't know that, then they were either a fool, or they were purposefully turning a blind eye, which makes them a fool anyway. So, this entire nobody that considers themselves to be a patriot, nobody, especially that fought in the military, that fought for this country, should want to even have to see a Confederate flag. It represents nothing American. It could be in a museum somewhere.
My thing is this: if we're gonna allow people to kneel for the national anthem, we're gonna allow people to fly whatever flag they want.
And I hear that.
If they want to deal with the repercussions of flying that flag, that's their decision. Right, because they could run into a bad one. They could run into a bad one.
And that's not what I'm talking about. Any individual that wants to have a freaking Confederate flag bumper sticker, wants to fly a flag from the truck of their window, wants to have a flag hanging in their front yard by the front door, cool. It's your property. It's your shit. For there to be national monuments of these things, for it to be flying at a national event, because NASCAR is exactly that, then that's where the line is drawn. You want to do, if an individual wants to do something on their personal property, I have no issue with that.
So and on that, I agree. I agree with. I have no problem with NASCAR saying no to the Confederate flag.
No,
I disagree. Me and you would disagree on the business side of it. I would tend to agree with Trump. I would have to see the data. I'm not a NASCAR guy, so I'd have to look at what their data is. My assumption, and maybe this is my own bias, because again, I've never been to a NASCAR race. Full disclosure,
come on, I'm black. I've not been to a NASCAR race, bro.
I haven't been. And I lived in Dover, so it was just
you lived in Dover?
I did. I lived in Dover, and I just never been. Not that there's anything wrong with going. Again, it's just not my thing. It's not my people. So
yeah.
I just, not that I wouldn't go, I just have never done it. I'm 39 years old. So
hey, not my people either, for the record. at least not the Confederate flag toting ones. All right.
Yeah, I mean, but being that I lived in Dover,
a lot of great people in NASCAR.
I lived in Dover for 2 years, and I saw massive amounts of Confederate flags going in and out of Dover racetrack. So all I'm saying is, from a business standpoint, I don't know if, now maybe you're right, Glenn. I think what's funny is down south, there's a lot of black people that like NASCAR, which is a lot different than obviously when we're up north, right? I mean, we would all agree with that growing up together.
I wouldn't say a lot.
We didn't like our friend groups. It's not like everybody was like, dude, my Rusty Wallace. I mean, it just wasn't, not my, I had a couple friends that liked it, and they were, hey, I mean, teach their own. They're a little bit. Hey!
From Pasadena.
All I'm saying is that
Curtis Bay,
Edgewater. But look, all I'm saying is that I'm talking about the business side of it. But I agree with you. If as a business, if they think it's going to be good for business, they can do that. I think, and again, I'm not saying that Trump was right. I don't really like the tech. I don't like the. Again, I don't even read his posts. Somebody else brought this up to me earlier today because they're like, you believe everything he says? I'm like, I don't even know what he says because I don't read his tweets. I don't know everything. I'm not going to defend everything. I just read this stuff. And because I've seen some other tweets, he is the type of person, he can't turn that businessman part off. He can't. He cannot turn it off in his mouth.
Yeah,
where
you can tell he thinks like he's talking
something
to his
is good or bad for business. He's going to say it because he wants to call his shot. And part of that's being a dickhead, but that is how that's how he says it, and that's how he does it. To me, it would not surprise me if the flag decision was not a net positive for that company at this point. Maybe in the long run, it ends up being a good decision for them. And actually, maybe this is a good time to segue into, because my core belief is right. as a business, just like I didn't like the kneeling thing, I don't like, I don't have the Confederate flag. So it depends what I think is going to be good for business or bad for business.
So hang on. So on
Now,
that note, really quick, because I didn't really get to touch on the kneeling aspect, right? Because apparently, in 2017, yeah, you're right. I would say in 2017 that probably wasn't good for business. But it's mighty funny that now that the country and really the world is on board with Black Lives Matter and they understand kneeling. Roger Goodell came out and gave all sorts of statements, praising the kneeling and saying that they should have listened back then. I'm for all of them, for Roger Goodell, for all of the friggin' business owners, because let me tell you something. They should have came out in 2017 when it was difficult, when everybody was trying to diverge and when everybody was trying to take a stand and saying that the kneeling was disrespecting the flag and all this stuff that it had nothing to do with. That's when Roger Goodell and that's when the owners should have came out and said, no, they're kneeling at this point in time because they know that the world is looking and they know that police brutality is an issue when it comes to blacks in this country. So now that it's popular, now that it's easy, now that it's 2020 and people had to see the knee on the neck of George Floyd, everybody wants to hop on board and say, yeah, we should have listened back then. Kneel, blah, blah, blah. And they're all patriots for kneeling and for Colin Kaepernick exercising his First Amendment right to do so. So it really makes no sense. It really just kind of makes no sense. Yeah, I'm sorry, but the NFL, you're a little late. I mean, I guess better late than never. But you should have did it when it was difficult. Now it's easy. You get no points.
Well, and to me, I don't like it. I still think it's crap. I don't think, again, we just disagreed on that.
Now in week one.
So now it's going to be better for their business.
In week one, I
agree.
In week one, I got 2 points for you guys. I got 2 points for you guys to argue about. Week one, the NFL is going to play a black national anthem. Week one, the NFL is going to play a black national anthem. Does that incite more racism or is that healing something? I don't know. That's for you guys to debate. I'm asking you guys. Second question is Nike apparently is losing $750 million or something like that and laying off employees. If that's a true fact, do you think this has anything to do with any of this racism, Colin Kaepernick? So 2 points.
So let's just kind of start with the second point first, then, since that one's fresh. So in terms of Nike has lost about a lot of money. A lot of money. It looks like about $750 million as of right now. And so and this is what I want to talk about. Nike was on the downtrend ever since 2017, and it wasn't because they actually didn't re-sign Kaepernick to that $80 million Nike deal until 2018. They were on the downtrend, and if you guys actually look at it, ever since Kanye West came out with those Yeezys, Nike has been on the downtrend. Adidas has been on the uptrend like crazy. So I don't really. And I mean, you can argue it, and that could be even anecdotal, but
in the Under Armour
emergence of Under Armour helped too. I mean, hurt Nike.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. It hurt Nike. So Nike has kind of been on the downtrend for the last 3 going on 4 years. I don't really think that the Black Lives Matter movement or them having anything to do with Colin Kaepernick has really dropped their sales or hurt their sales in a negative way. They were just already going down. And then what was the first question that you had asked, Fred? Really quick.
So I said the Nike discussion, and I also said
the other thing was the first black national anthem.
Yeah,
before
right.
You go for the
week one, NFL.
Let me comment on what you just commented on, and then you go ahead and take the next one first too. The first, here's the thing: is ESPN's numbers have been dropping terribly too, and I don't necessarily think
that should be no surprise. I mean, Fox Sports got all of their studs.
Well, that's true.
They took Skip Bayless. They took Shannon Sharp. I mean, I think Stephen A. Smith is the only one that's holding it on over there.
But a lot of that was because ESPN was cutting. And ESPN went super liberal. And here's the deal, right? Like, as a conservative, like when I watch sports, I just kind of want to get away. Like, I'm not against any bringing up any discussion. But it's like, good gracious, I'm watching the NFL, the NFL Network just yesterday. They bring on 3 days ago, they bring this coalition of people to talk about how homosexuality and transsexuality and how it needs to be encouraged and this and that. And it's like I look at people like football players. If you're a football player, you're a football player. And maybe it's just me, but I'm pretty sure I've played with some gay people before. And I'm pretty sure if I found out that they were gay, I would be like, not that surprised, okay? Through life, very rarely have I been surprised by someone's sexual orientation. Now, I don't care what your sexual orientation is. I do understand that it's probably a harder road to hoe, okay? But they start creating new rules, and that kind of stuff's bullcrap. The idea that, well, a gay person would never be attracted to you because you're straight. It's like, yeah, right, I'm attracted to women that aren't attracted to me all the time, okay? So I don't think that person needs to clamp their butt cheeks together because their buddy's gay and he plays football with them. And if people want to have some discussions about it, okay, but an hour-long segment about how, we shouldn't be using this word or that word. Well, no, you shouldn't use derogatory terms. And, it starts with us at home with our kids, and we've got to learn to not do some of that stuff that we might say in jest. But no, like as a coach, I'm not okay with you talking about this kid's sexual orientation one way or the other. I want to coach football. But I just wanted to bring that up because the more you jam this stuff where I'm not even allowed to say, I mean, I am because I'm me and I'll just say shit, but I got to be, oh gosh, I'm going to have people think I'm homophobic because I don't want to watch an hour-long discussion on this guy and he was a gay guard for New England. I don't care. I don't care what the left tackle was either, or the wide receiver, or Tom Brady. I just want to watch football, and I don't care what their orientation is. So for me, I don't want to, for an hour, I'd rather just watch X's and O's. And my point is that ESPN has become a very liberal, pushing agendas. And if you don't agree with their agendas, they down you as a person. They do. They make it seem like you're not a good person and you're not a humanitarian. You can't be, if you're not with us, you're against us. And that mentality is a poor mentality. And when people watch sports, a lot of them don't want to deal with that. And that's why I think ratings are dropping on ESPN, Nike. I think there's some other. I think that's why Fox is doing well, because a lot of times they'll have, for every person saying the one side, they'll at least have the Marcus Wiley, or they'll have the other guy that was on the show with him. You have to. So go ahead.
For sure. Yeah. So really quick. So I agree with a little bit of what you said, but I don't agree with most of it. So really fast. And I don't want anybody to take to offense, but I think it comes from sort of a white privilege place when you can say something like, when I go to watch sports, I just want to get away and watch sports. That's easy for somebody that doesn't go through shit to be able to say.
Who doesn't go
through stuff? So listen, everybody that comes up through the college ranks in the NFL, including black folks, say it was the one thing that got them out of their element, sports. It was their one refuge.
Absolutely. And so listen, because they've all done it. Fox Sports has done it. ESPN has done it. ESPN has arguably gone more liberal than other stations. But Fox Sports, you got Shannon Sharpe, and this is the thing. It's mostly centered around the sports of basketball and football. Why? Because over 70% of the players are black, right? So of course, everybody wants to watch sports, decompress. I get that. I think we can all agree with that. What I don't agree with is somebody being able to say, hey, you don't have to like it, but understand that when over half of your people are an oppressed people, it's like you're like 75-80% mentally in the game, but you're still thinking about the shit you might have to deal with as you're pulling out from the stadium. You're thinking about things your kids may go through. So, you can't, as an oppressed people, you really can't say that, hey, I want to decompress, with sports. Well, that's
saying
really
maybe
nice
in college.
Yes, you can. First of all, that's exactly what I disagree with. The idea, that's black privilege. That's where we're at today, where we think if you're black, then you go, oh, well, the white people, they must have it so good. They don't have to decompress over nothing. Black people, we got a million things to deal with.
You just said it out of your own mouth. You want to look at sports.
You want to decompress.
Sure.
Exactly. That means you're going through stuff. The idea that you get to watch a sport and decompress means that you're going through stuff. The idea that because you're white, you get to decompress, and as a black person, you can't decompress because you're thinking about your kids.
Black,
that's what decompressing is.
But there is no decompressing. It's not fair for you as a spectator to say,
everybody
I want
does.
to decompress.
The whole reason
decompress
black people watch
the players aren't.
Black people overwhelmingly watch basketball.
World,
so when
of course, and look, and in a perfect world, look, black people want to hear what these players have to say.
So it's not even.
That's what I'm saying. So what you're saying makes no sense because
no, it makes exact sense.
No,
when you
in a
trying
world,
to decompress.
like to come
hey, one at a time, one at a time.
In a perfect world, I'd like to be able to come home, watch some sports, decompress.
You can.
But when 70% of the players are black for the sports that I like the most, then of course I want to hear what these players have to say in the wake of a George Floyd or in the wake of an Ahmaud Arbery.
You may want to hear that, and that's
for
fine.
Sure.
And they do
because
that. And it doesn't matter. That you being black has zero to do with it. No, it doesn't. You don't care more about black people than I do because you're black. That's false.
Really?
Yes, really. You wake up. Yeah, and that's actually extremely.
I don't know. I mean, do you have black kids?
That. It doesn't matter. I have kids. They're humans. Yeah,
good. That's good to know. So would you?
Sorry, I don't look at a white kid and a black kid and like the white one more because my kid's white.
I just don't think it's fair.
It's
not. Look, I don't think it's fair to sit there and say, "Hey, I want to." Everybody wants to throw on sports and decompress, but when an oppressed people, which is the majority of the sports that you're watching, are an oppressed people, I'm sorry, we don't have that luxury.
It's hard to relate to oppressed people when they're making millions, though, isn't it?
Everybody goes through stuff. Everybody does.
No, not like black people, bro. It's not the same.
And again,
I mean, dude, I'll be here all night. We can bring up.
Right. We're not going to agree on
it
because white people go through stuff black people don't. So do black people, and some rich, and some poor, and some from this community, and some from that community. And to point out race and think that race is the reason, that's the indoctrination. That's not the reality in most cases. You have everybody deals with crap. Everybody, like, it's just tiring hearing how, oh, this person's oppressed. It's like, I had my kids, I had to chase around the whole entire country. If I was a black woman, I get my kids. Let's take that for example.
And you're right. You're exactly okay. So you're exactly right. And I remember when you were going through that, and you having to get your kids was an issue that deeply affected you. So when you go to cut on the sports, and majority of players are dads going through the same shit as you, and they're talking about it, you're gonna want to hear it, even though you really just want to decompress from sports. You're gonna want to hear what they're talking about based on the situation and the oppression that you're going through. So of course, like it wouldn't be fair for me to say, "Oh man, screw those dads. I just want to watch sports." Like it doesn't work that way.
It is okay for you to say that. Anybody who can say that.
If the majority of people were being oppressed in that way, then the country should be made aware of it by any means necessary.
We should be. I don't know why it's not. You're still going to get your sports.
You're still going to get your sports. If they ain't going nowhere.
It's not a matter of somebody saying, I don't like police. So for me, let's say the Colin Kaepernick thing, he didn't do it because of that. Go back and look at his thing. Again, if he did it because of that, and I believed he did it because of that, I've talked out about police brutality for way longer than Colin Kaepernick. So I've been talking about this. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen firsthand to me. So I'm not black. So I don't know why they decided to bother this privileged white kid, but it did happen to me. So I've been on the police brutality front for a long time. And I know, just like I told my child the other day, my child and me had a discussion. My son says, well, I don't believe in racism. I said, well, let me tell you this. Would you rather be you or would you rather be a black kid if you're in front of a jury of your peers? I'd rather be white, which means that there's some systematic racism. That's how I know that there is some. But I also can go, would I rather be a man or a woman? Would I rather be a black man or a white woman? I would much rather be a white woman, right? And so would I rather be a black woman or a white man?
Of course,
I would rather be a woman.
Get Bill Cosby locked up.
Okay, what'd you say?
You can just say anything and get Bill Cosby locked up. Yeah. No proof.
I mean,
no evidence.
And I don't have it again.
Later,
if somebody,
real nice.
if somebody wants to talk about their plight, okay, I can turn off the TV if I don't want to watch it. or they can say it and they can keep it on. I'm fine with either. I'm going to keep it real on here because we're us three, and I'm going to watch regardless. I mean,
All right,
I
so
love
give
the
me the
flag.
second.
They
Give me
can
the
kneel,
second part
and
of
I
my
can feel like
question.
it's bogus, and I'm still going to watch.
Under
The
5
fucker
minutes, Clint.
on the
Under
feet
5 minutes. Clint,
of
under
the
5
Dolphins.
minutes. The
So-
week 1 NFL is going to play the Black National Anthem. Is this a good thing or a bad thing for America? Are we coming together or are we going further apart?
Go ahead, Glenn.
Well, this is the thing here. So a lot of people actually don't know the lyrics of the national anthem as we know it. Oh, say, can you see? Right? People like say and like kind of mumble the tune, but they really don't know the words.
They hear
Especially-
verse 1. They don't hear verse 2 or
Right.
3.
They don't know the words, especially in the end. If you listen to the national anthem, our national anthem is racist. It was written at the end of the Civil War. And at the very end, he's talking about what I brought up before, those colonial Marines. The colonial Marines were African American, I don't want to say African American at the time. They were black. They were black slaves for America that decided to fight for the British because the British said that if the British won, the British offered them their freedom. Right. So as the ramparts ran Blair and the the stars scream in air and all that jazz, you got Francis Scott Key, getting excited and writing up this Star Spangled Banner, and he's literally talking about the colonial Marines. And the last part of the stars of the national anthem actually references, man, these colonial Marines, because there was only 38 of them, 38 black soldiers that fought for the British, and they were a tremendous help. They were helping the British get through, certain pathways and showing them where to cross rivers and things that they otherwise wouldn't have known. So Francis Scott Key is actually referencing, man, what if all of the slaves did this? That's what he's talking about in the national anthem. So I'm going to be honest. With that being said, I still don't think that a black national anthem is a good thing. I think we're at a time where we're looking at all sorts of things that, look, the argument right now is, hey, is getting rid of a statue or is doing this, is that going to positively affect some of the issues that are plaguing the black community? And that's a totally different discussion. The issues that are plaguing the black community are one thing, and legislation and laws are what's going to take care of those. The taking down of statues, monuments, looking at something like the national anthem, and maybe, I don't want to go ahead and say rewrite part of the national anthem, but I think it would be an interesting thought or foresight. While we're looking at all these things, that's something different. The issues are one thing. Taking down statues does something totally different. No, it's not going to take care of a lot of the economic issues, housing issues, and things like that in the black community. But what it does is it begins it shows the people or the American citizens that America is making an effort in an attempt to recognize its wrongdoings in a systematic way. When people talk about reparations, when black people talk about reparations, they're not talking about the government like handing over a check or sending everybody money, like they did for the Japanese.
That's
most
debatable.
Reparations, most blacks, when they're talking about reparations, what they're saying is America has done things systemically to hold black people back. So now America should do something systemically to even the playing field. That is the definition of reparations for most black people. So I'll let you go ahead and run with that, Kenny.
No, before Kenny chimes in, I just want to say the national anthem that we hear, that we've heard since I was a child. Like, I didn't even know verses 2 and 3 existed until I was like 35. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, it might even have been later than that. It might even have been later than that. But the first verse that I hear played everywhere, in front of every sporting event, in front of like almost every like ceremony I've ever been to in the military, I honestly got goosebumps. I didn't know there was a verse 2 or 3. I didn't know there was racism in the Star Spangled Banner. Now that they point out verse 2 and 3, I don't know. I don't think, again, that the flag that's usually back here, that's us at the end of the day. And I said it before, somehow we've got to get back to believing in that flag. I don't know how we get there, but as a nation, we got to get there. But our Star Spangled Banner is part of that heritage. Kenny, what do you think? Is it good or bad?
And they've always used those dog whistle words too, like heritage, Southern heritage.
I got
those
you.
have all
I
been
got
dog
you.
whistle words that have
Right.
pointed toward white supremacy. See, the history is hidden, but it's hidden in plain
Okay,
sight.
so all right, but listen.
So again,
let
we'll
Kenny
have a
answer
different
this. Let
discussion
Kenny
on
answer
dog
that.
whistle. To me, dog whistle's bull crap. At the end of the day, you have these really, really racist people that maybe came up with these terms to dog whistle. Nobody gives a shit about them. Nobody cares about the half of 1% of lunatics that are up in the mountains banging their sisters, talking about how they wish these darkies weren't here anymore. Nobody cares about that. So we can fix some of the things that we've talked about. Let me talk about. First of all, there is no black national anthem, okay? Because here's the thing: it's called a national anthem. Okay, it's a national anthem. We want to change it, we can change it. We want to talk about, hey, how we come together, and there are some verses in it that are bad. The one that they sing, no, I don't think there's any. Again, I'm not talking about the 5 people up in their trailer in the mountains with their cousins, but people listen to the Star Spangled Banner. I listen to Whitney Houston sing it. It's never going to not give me goosebumps. I just think it was the most beautiful representation. A black female singing our national anthem. I don't give a damn if she was in her warm-ups that she was wearing. She was gorgeous. Her voice was unbelievable. There's a sense of pride to hearing that. If we want to have a discussion again, I'm open to discussion. So if there's a segment of society that feels like, hey, this is, we want to come together and we want to make a new national anthem, then so be it. But of course, you want to hear a dog whistle. What if I said, oh, well, let's sing the white national anthem? And people go, well, it is the white national anthem. No, there's a lot of people who love the national anthem. When Whitney Houston sung it, she didn't think she was singing the white national anthem. She thought she was singing the national anthem. And so just can't verify that right now, but I would bet that she would say that. And there's been beautiful renditions over the years. And, that is a part of our American heritage. Our flag, too. For things that bother people, again, I'm okay with having the discussion. I want us to be a United States. And I'm going to try to burn through the story real quick, but I do want to tell people, I had seen a bunch of different things, politically motivated. I made the mistake of going on Facebook. I go on Facebook. I see this thing. It's like, if you just want to say all lives, you know how racists speak nowadays? They say all lives matter. So, of course, I type all lives matter, enter, because that's who I am, because I think it's funny. But you hear these different people saying this is racism, that's racism. No, racism is racism, okay? And I go out and there's this beautiful black family, okay? And they're trying to take a picture. So I say, hey, you want me to take a picture for you? They're like, yep. So I take a picture of their family, and like normal, I'm goofing off because that's what I do, right? I'm not very good at taking pictures. I'm trying to keep distance away from them. I take the picture. I give them the thing. Next thing you know, they're doing a little TikTok thing. Me and my daughter are doing a TikTok thing. The black lady that's kind of the matriarch of the family, I don't know if she was the wife or what, but she was, 45, 50, something like that, right? Pretty lady. She comes over, and me and my daughter are doing this little dance. She comes in, and she's like, oh, well, we're family now, right? And that's what I love, right? That's what America means to me. For the next hour, I'm chit-chatting to this dude that's, plus or minus, or he's about a 5 to 10 years older than me. But we're talking about family. His son lives in, comes from this other area. We're just it's the people. That's the reason why I have black business partners instead of white business partners. It's not because I like black people better than white people or this group better than that people. But there are certain people you just naturally connect with. These people that I was talking to are people that I naturally connect with. They feel like I was family. I felt like they were family. There's no amount of level that I wouldn't go to defend that family that I had just met, because they were sweethearted people. And that's what America's about. I'm going through this as I'm watching these fireworks go, and I was just goosebumped and teared up. And I was like, these people probably think I'm weirdos. At the end, no, the guy's like, hey, let me get your number, dude. You're super cool. I'm like, telling him about the show a little bit. He's like, oh, man, I'll definitely check it out. Like, I always have an opinion. And that's, to me, what America's about. That's why I love this country. It's why I love this show. It's why I love you guys. But I'm just a national thing. Cool, let's do it. We should all be proud of our nation. And it's not all glittery. You know what? If you looked up all 3 of our porn history through our entire life, we've probably been on things we shouldn't have been on at some point. We've probably made mistakes we shouldn't have made in our lives. to just condemn everyone as throwing the baby out with the bathwater, I don't think it's good to do. I think we should have discussions, be open about it. It's okay for people to be upset about it. Let's try to reconcile what we can reconcile, but we need to be proud of our national anthem and our flag.
I agree.
So yeah, I agree with that. One thing I don't agree with, I don't think people are throwing out the baby with the bathwater. I don't think people are just lumping everything into one sort of thing here. We can talk about porn histories or anything that anybody does that's considered negative or bad. I don't think that that's the same thing as systemic racism. I don't think that that's the same thing as denying people opportunities and things like that. Is that the majority of what's going on? No, but does it go on way too much to just allow it to continue and sit back? Absolutely. Do I think that one family is one family too many? For sure. Do I think that the system needs to be looked at? Absolutely. Do I think that there need to be laws in place and certain, there's the issue of hate crimes and things like that. Do I think that things need to be labeled hate crimes or should be considered worse? I think that a legislation that, would that targets blatant racism, that would make the crime sentence go up. I think sure, absolutely, it's necessary. But again, there's got to be, in terms of taking down statues and things like that, there's a right way to do things. I know that the statue came down in Baltimore of Christopher Columbus, threw it in the river. That wasn't done the correct way, wasn't done properly. I do believe that things should go through your local government, should be approved. And I think right now with everything that's going on, I people aren't dragging their feet on this sort of stuff. The citizens are putting pressure on government, local and federal. And I think it's a good thing. I do. I think it's a good thing. And these things need to be looked at. So I'm just going to kind of leave it at that. I know Kenny had said a lot. I know we're actually getting ready to talk about a few other things really quick. We got my team, the Redskins. I know Kenny got a jersey on.
Yeah, we got the Redskins in sports.
Baby, you got the Trump
So
skins
yeah. So let's go there. The name
Boo.
change, right? The name change. I heard they was just going to put a potato skin on the helmet and call them still the Redskins. I mean, shit.
I've heard the red tails. That's probably the best one that I've heard. Which is
the red tails are cool, especially because the red tails symbolize, the Tuskegee Airmen. I think it's kind of weird. I mean, I guess it could work for Washington, D.C., since they're technically not a state. If Alabama had a pro football team, I would think that their name would probably be the Red Tails or something like that. It would make a little more sense to me. But I think that Washington could get away with it for sure.
So where's that line drawn, Glenn? Because I know before this, you had spoken out that you want to keep the Redskins name, and you were very
I was just getting ready to say that.
So,
I was just getting ready to say that.
I thought they were going to change it to the DC Redskins.
Hey, the term Redskins is the one that's, potentially a quote unquote derogatory. So, whether it's Washington or DC or Washington, DC, I don't really think that's the question. The actual name Redskins is the question. And again, it was a derogatory term. And it still is. It technically still is. I just know that I've talked to several people, and I don't want to generalize anything because I've talked to not as many people, but there are a few Indians that it does offend, or Native Americans rather, that it does offend.
That one poll was like 95 though, right?
Yeah,
97 or something like high in the DC area, I thought.
Yeah, it was no, it was like right at 90%. And there's some that are against it. Most of them really don't give a damn.
Right.
That I've seen. I grew up with the Redskins. I get it, but I will support whatever the team.
I'm saying, can't we ask the population what they feel, and if they want, we give them 15% of the revenue.
Well, this is the thing. You gotta ask the people. You can't just ask everybody. You gotta ask the people that it affects the most. You gotta ask the indigenous people. You gotta ask the Native Americans. How they feel about it, because just like if you wouldn't have a team called the Washington Negroes, even though to say the word Negro was politically correct back in the day. We still had a team called the Washington Negroes. You can't just go around and ask all the citizens what they think about it. You got to ask the black people, or the people that are most offended by it, and see what they think, right? So it's not really a place for, white
That's what I'm saying.
So let me ask you this.
the Native
if you had
Americans.
a team,
but the Redskins does have a very racist.
But here's the thing. my question is that if you have, let's say it was a team called the Washington Negroes, right? And you had 98% of black people that did not care, does that all of a sudden make them more valuable than that 2% that maybe it bothers them, certainly more than it bothers the 98? How do you determine whose opinion matters more? Does that
This
make?
is the
Are you
thing
understanding my
again. Like,
question?
yeah, I do. I understand your question, and all I can do is relate it to me personally because the name Redskins doesn't offend me. But if I'm part of the 98% that doesn't care, and the 2% cares, like I've already stated, I will support the team no matter what they do. I think a true Washington Negroes fan, if they're a true fan of the team, right, they're going to say, hey, I support whatever. I don't want anybody to feel offended or excluded. So if they do decide to change the name, I'm with it. So, I mean, that's what loyalty is about. And that's what doing the right thing, even if it's 1%, because this is the thing. If we still lived in a time, let's say, of slaves, right? And there was only 1% of the population that were slaves, right? Even though it doesn't affect me or you or Fred, that 1% is in dire straits. And I'll be damned if I'm going to sit on my high horse and say, hey, well, it doesn't offend me. So I don't think slavery needs to be abolished. I would say, man, get that stuff out of here because it's affecting 1% of the people in a negative way, and it's not worth it.
I would say that to me, I'm going to take it a little different than that because that's a civil rights issue in terms of, if slaves were treated wonderfully, then I think that would have been a better analogy. But you're talking about a team name, so these people aren't like being crucified and raped and all pillaged. These are just a team that has a mask on their helmet. So the problem
they were
is
at one point, though. You can't take away the history, but yeah.
But they savaged each other too. I mean, Indians were not just a peace-loving people that all of a sudden we can go into the history of it.
That's kind of like there's
many
the same
different
argument as like black on black crime and all that stuff. There's way more white on white crime, but you don't.
Well, no, I'm merely saying that it's hard to
like
make an argument against Redskins if you have different tribes of Indian that kill each other or don't. I'm just saying that for the name of a team, if you start going, oh, well, who is offended? And that's how we're going to determine whether or not we keep the name or not. There's always going to be somebody that is offended, whether your team is called the Washington, whatever it was. I mean, we went from the Bullets to the Wizards. I think the Wizards is a dumb name. I think the Bullets was a better name. I would much rather the team still be called the Bullets. I don't think it saved a single life. To me,
that's kind of an apples to orange comparison, in my opinion, because the Washington Bullets, I mean, bullets isn't like a race term. It's not a derogatory term in any sort of way. It's just a word. And I didn't understand it at the time.
But it was derogatory in their mind. So my whole point is yes, it's a little different. I concede it's a little different.
It's not
because there are
racial,
people with red skin. But
correct.
I do think that I have seen all this too many times to think that this slippery slope is going to just stop the minute that we don't have, like Braves. I'm glad the Braves is a honorable Braves. They don't seem to be wanting to change their name. I don't think they should. I think that's an honorable thing to call somebody.
Of course, I don't think it's the Braves, the Braves was honorable. That's what Native Americans called themselves. They fared themselves as Braves, and it was a positive thing from its inception. The Redskins was not derived. It was derived to demean people and put people down. So you can't really use that analogy.
I've heard that. I mean, maybe the team name not so much. Maybe the term Redskin is derogatory, but
that's what I'm saying.
The team wasn't trying to use it in a derogatory sense.
Well, I'm not 100% sure, so I won't necessarily disagree with you with that. But the Redskins does have a racial.
I agree. The term Redskins can be used in a derogatory statement. I don't think the club was using that.
Well, in the team, so that's what I'm saying, because the team has a history of being racial toward brown-skinned people. They used to not let any brown-skinned people come to the game.
10% to or
they
whatever.
Did have the first Super Bowl black quarterback, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. I'm just saying.
You guys are talking about today. I'm talking about the Redskins is an old team. They've been around since the late
50s, like 40s or 50s or something like that, right?
So they used to not let black players come to their game or black people come to their games. no
I thought they were
Negroes
the
allowed.
first club to allow it. I thought they were the first club to allow it. Was I wrong on that?
No.
I know Alabama didn't either. So I mean, there's a litany
Yeah,
of.
they have a history. They have a
I
history
mean,
of not letting in black
I'm going to go ahead and go
players
out on a
back
limb
in the
and say
day.
every team except for maybe Jacksonville and Carolina
No,
and teams after
I
them.
just did the search. It said they were the last team. Yep.
Yeah, the last team.
Yeah. So I mean, again, that's two different things.
So no,
Right,
but what I'm saying is, I would like to think that they called their club the Redskins just because it was a cool name. But
I don't
their
think
history,
they were
Well, I
watching
think
like
they wanted it to be a violent. I mean, they wanted to be like when you're the Sharks or you're the whatever. You wanted to be savages. I mean, that was. I'm sure
it played into the rivalry, right? Because we hated the Cowboys.
Yeah, for sure. So we
Cowboys
just
and
can't say
Indians were always
for
looked at
100%.
as
Right. It played
this
into
side,
the
that side.
rivalry.
Definitely,
I mean,
definitely.
the
But the
1940s and
Redskins just
50s,
has a racist history, so
the
that's my
1940s,
only
50s,
reason.
and 60s were nothing but Cowboys and Westerns, man. Your dad watched them. My dad watched them. They all watched them.
Man, my dad still watches them.
I know.
All day, every day. It's terrible.
My dad was more watching Smokey and the Bandit.
I'm glad my dad ain't that bad. He watches like Hang 'em High and shit like that.
Well, my dad's dead, so he ain't watching shit.
He's up in heaven watching them. Trust me.
All right. So let's end it up on a high note, fellas. What we say we get some closing arguments going on here. Ken, you want to lead us off?
Sure.
All right, cool.
Again, at the end of the day, my hope is that people see what I saw on July 4th, which is people coming together. And if you listen to people, again, when you come to businesses should be allowed to do what they think is best for businesses. Sometimes they're going to be right. Sometimes they're going to be wrong. But at the end of the day, on an individual level, you should be free to do what you want to do. And you should be free to flag whatever flag you want to wave and live how you choose to live as long as you're not hurting somebody else. And so hopefully, if we can get away from some of the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook, get back and just be nice to people, be kind to people. The people that you're going to meet in this wonderful world that we live in are going to be people that are very dynamic people with a lot of different angles to them. And I hope that everybody here stops looking at people like a black guy or a white guy or this or that. Just look at them as a person and then listen to what their opinions are. You can agree or disagree, but I was so happy to be able to spend my 4th meeting this wonderful family that it didn't matter, right? It's part of the story that they were a black family only because of what I had seen earlier in the day with all the drama on Twitter and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, we are human beings and we should be working together to make this a great country. I think we can. I think we will. Hopefully, we will do a good job on this show. This was kind of a joke. Obviously, I'm a Dolphins fan. And if they want to change their name, change their name. But I love you guys. Keep watching the show. I appreciate my partners in crime here, and just keep sharing and everything. We appreciate it. Go ahead, Glenn.
Take it over, Glenn.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us again tonight. You guys could have been anywhere, but we're starting off the week correct. You guys are with us, getting our debate on. Really quick, I do just want to talk about, there has been a lot of, racial things going on, and it's very triggering, no matter what side of the fence you're on. What I will say is this. America is not static, or it's not, just one level. There's a lot of gray area to this country, and things are dynamic. Everything in life is dynamic. Like, for example, a woman could be a good mother, could be a great employee, could be a really good person, but be a drug addict. A father could be just that, a good father, a good businessman, a good coach, but could do something stupid, could hurt somebody. Maybe he hurt somebody defending his family or something, or maybe, he it doesn't really matter. People can do good things or be good and do bad things as well. And so I think the same goes for this country. The same goes for America. America is a great country. Love being an American, proud to be an American. My family fought for the freedoms that we're able to enjoy today. Yes, black families and white families together. They did that. But America has some issues that it needs to tackle. systemically, just as it created some issues systemically. And so I think that that's what most Black people are really looking for, as well as white people in this day and age. When we talk about police reform, and we didn't get into it, but the Democrats, blocked the Republicans' Justice Act bill today, and the Democrats have a bill of their own that they plan on pushing forward, which they'll probably get a little more bipartisan support for. But things like this need to change. It's that time. I do believe that there's more positive happening than negative right now. I believe that all of this stuff is bringing us Americans closer together as opposed to bringing us further apart. So with that being said, I just want to thank you guys for joining us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you guys on Wednesday.
Man, who has it better than us, man? I tell you what. Hey, we appreciate y'all for tuning in. Episode 15. Can you believe it? We made it to episode 15. Contra-Dictions. Email us. Leave us some feedback. contra.dictions.us@gmail.com. Please hit us up. We love the feedback in the comments section. Thank you all for tuning in. We got big things coming up in the future. Big things. Love you all. Stay safe, America, and tune in on Wednesday when we come back to you live. Thank you very much, and God bless. Have a good night. Love you.